everyone! Today we're going to reveal which continent has the best national flags. For those of you not familiar with our channel, we completed a series where we reviewed the flags of all 193 sovereign countries from across the world. We gave each flag a score out of 10. We're going to reveal which continent came out on top. We're going to tell you the average score of each continent. So just to explain what we mean by average, we add the values of each object in question and divide by the number of objects we're adding. In our example shown here, we added the values of 3 objects and therefore we divide the sum of these values by 3. In this example, the average is 5. As well as the average, we'll also tell you the median score. So what does median mean? The median refers to the value at the center of a list. So for example, in a sample of 7 ordered from lowest to highest, the median is the value of the object in the middle. In this example, it's the 4th lowest, which is also the 4th highest. So the median in this example is 10. Statisticians sometimes use the median instead of the average because the average can sometimes be skewed by outliers, and the median value gives a better representation of a typical value. This happens to be the case with our flag scores. We had a number of flags that scored very poorly in our reviews, and these dragged down the average by quite a bit. So before we reveal the average and median scores for each continent, we're going to tell you the average and median for all 193 country flags in the world. The average score is 7.412. For our averages, we're going to round them to 1 decimal place, so the average of all the country flags becomes 7.4. So what's the median? The 97th placed country is at the center of the list, and it achieved a score of 8.2 out of 10. So our median is 8.2. So that's 0.8 higher than the average. And that's where you can see how the lowest scoring countries drag down the average. Let's move on to the continents. We divided them up into the following: Europe, Asia, Africa, the Americas, and the Pacific. Of course, the Pacific isn't really a continent, so perhaps referring to them as regions would be more accurate. Anyway, we've included Papua New Guinea, Australia, and New Zealand as Pacific countries. For the Americas, that includes North, Central, and South America, as well as the Caribbean nations. Russia is categorized as European, even though the majority of the country is in Asia, while Turkey is categorized as Asian. A small portion of Turkey is in Europe, and Turkey often competes as a European team in sporting events, but for this exercise, it's Asian. So let's look at each region one by one. For Europe, the average of 44 countries is 6.9. The median is 8.0. For Asia, the average of 47 countries is 7.7. The median is 8.0. For Africa, the average of 53 countries is 8.1. The median is 8.7. For the Americas, the average of 35 countries is 6.6. The median is 7.7. And finally, for the Pacific, the average of 14 countries is 7.4. The median is 8.2. So we can now reveal that the continent with the best national flags is Africa. Congratulations to Africa, a clear winner. Africa has both the highest average and the highest median. Here is the list in order of averages. Africa is on top with Asia in second. Then we have the Pacific in third, Europe fourth, and the Americas in last. And here is the list in order of the median scores. It's Africa on top, the Pacific second, Asia and Europe are joint third, and the Americas are last. So looking at the 2 sets of scores side by side, we see something interesting. While Africa is top for both, and the Americas are bottom for both, the middle 3 are mixed up. Europe's median score is a whopping 1.1 higher than its average. Meanwhile, Asia's median score is just 0.3 higher than its average. What this means is that Europe had a number of countries that scored very poorly and dragged down the average significantly, while the Asian national flags had a more even spread of scores. It just so happens that the Pacific region scored the same average and median as the entire world, which is kind of funny given that the Pacific region had the smallest sample size. So why did Africa come out on top? One by one, beginning in the late 50s, African colonies declared their independence from European empires. By then, the study and design of flags was fairly well established, and most of the newly independent African countries adopted simple, well-designed flags. Many of the African flags are plain tricolors modeled off European flags, but use different colors to make them distinctive. Others use simple charges such as stars. The African wave of independence came at the ideal time in terms of flags. There were still plenty of simple designs available at the time, and as well as the design itself, most African flags have good, well-defined symbolism. Given that flags originated in Europe and European countries essentially had first choice of flags, it might be somewhat surprising that their average is quite low. There are two reasons why this is the case. Firstly, a number of European flags are just plain bad. 10 European country flags use a full coat of arms, while 3 more use a simplified version, and regular viewers of the channel know how badly having a coat of arms affects a flag's score. The second reason has to do with symbolism. Having the oldest national flags in the world is usually good in terms of design, but for symbolism, it works out badly. Many European flags don't have any official symbolism. This is why a lot of our European flags scored around 8 out of 10. While they received excellent marks for most categories, they lost out on symbolism. So why did the Americas come in last place? Like European flags, many have coats of arms. In fact, 14 out of the 35 countries have a coat of arms, seal, or emblem. Percentage-wise, this is far higher than Europe and is easily the highest percentage of any region. But what happens if we break the Americas down into different regions? We can break the continent down into 4 distinct regions: North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. So let's look at the average and median scores when we do this. For North America's 3 countries, we have an average score of 6.8 and a median score of 7.7. For Central America's 7 countries, we have an average score of 4.8 and a median score of 3.1. For South America's 12 countries, we have an average score of 6.1 and a median score of 5.8. For the Caribbean's 13 countries, we have an average score of 7.9 and a median score of 9.2. And now we have a brand new story emerging. We see that Central America performed horrendously. Its median score was lower than the average, which is the opposite of what we've been used to. This is because the countries that scored well in Central America were the exception, and most of the countries scored very poorly. The same can be said of South America, but we can see their overall scores are better and their average and median are similar to each other. North America's scores are similar to the overall continent. And finally, we have the Caribbean. They scored an average of 7.9, which is very close to Africa's 8.1. But look at the median score. It's an incredible 9.2, 0.5 higher than Africa's median. What this means is that more than half the Caribbean countries scored 9.2 or higher. And while a few Caribbean countries scored poorly, we can safely say that the Caribbean is a hotbed of great flags. And that concludes our look at the average and median scores divided up among the world's major geographical regions. Do you agree that Africa has the best flags overall? What do you think about the statistics regarding the different regions of the Americas? We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos. Thank you for watching.